I finally succumbed to the Labubu. The cute and mischievous little beasties that slowly worm their way deep into your heart. Am I too late to get on this trend to make a sculpture out of it? Yeah, probably. Am I still gonna make one? Definitely. Like most sculptures, this Labubu starts off as a wire armature bent and twisted into shape using an actual Labubu as reference to make sure I get as close as possible to the right size. Then we'll bulk out the wire frame with some aluminum foil and start in on the face. This will be the main focus of the piece and the main area that has any unique detailing, so I wanted to start here while my motivation was still fresh. Labubus are pretty simplistic overall in their design, which makes it both easy and challenging to try and replicate, since if any of the simple shapes are off, then the whole piece kind of falls apart. Thankfully, I'm not really shooting for an exact replica. That means some saggy bags under the bulging eyeballs and some dangerously pointed teeth poking out from the mouth. But throughout the whole process of making the face, I couldn't help but feel like something was off. See, I wanted my Lafufu to be spooky and monstrous, but above all, I still wanted her to be cute. And this is not cute. So to fix it, I performed some emergency Labubu LASIK surgery and some Labubu dentistry so that I could start with a clean slate. This second attempt at the face turned out much better, and I feel like making the eyes smaller and the teeth more rounded really helped make her feel more like a cute but possibly feral creature that you found out in the woods. I also spent much more time adding the gums and upper lips so that she'd have that extra level of detail, compared with the original design's mouth, which is much more flat and two-dimensional. Then our Labomination gets a bake in the oven to save our progress, and we can start building up the fuzzy body. This part of the sculpting process was pretty simple, but very time-consuming. I'll start by building up a clay onesie hoodie, getting it into just about the right shape around our foil body. But something was still bugging me about the face. The nose was on a flat level with the rest of the face, with no dimension. So I cut it off and built up some clay around the protruding snout to be more how I wanted it to be, which I think was the right call in the end. Then I can start the agonizingly slow process of carving in the fur texture, which is honestly probably why this sculpture took so long to publish. I feel like by the time I was done etching in every little hair, I was so thoroughly burned out and sick of this sculpture. And being burned out really makes it hard to finish something and start on the next thing. This Labubu sculpture was supposed to be my way of doing something pretty quick and easy to get back into the swing of sculpting, but I think the lack of intrigue with the design elements kinda tanked my motivation. Don't get me wrong, I still think that they're super cute and cuddly, but basically all just the face and some fuzz, which gets a little bit boring after a week or two of working on the sculpture. I think that's one tough part about making any kind of art or doing any kind of creative pursuit. I found it really important to remember that I really like sculpting and making videos, and I want to keep making new things and exploring, but you can't do that if you don't start and keep after projects. I hope you'll forgive my rambling. The silly little sculpture was very cathartic in a lot of ways, but also kind of weirdly stressful and challenging. Which is all just kind of funny to say about a sculpture of a mildly cursed Lafufu. But with the fur sculpting finally finished, we can prime our beastie and get on to the painting. I started off by base coating the face in a layer of fleshy pale paint, then giving the same treatment to the hands, feet, and ears. Then the recesses get a brief and subtle blue wash to deepen the crevices. Then I can dry brush the face to bring out all the highlights. To paint the mouth and eyes, I decided to whip up a red oil wash using some crimson oil paint and mineral spirits. The oil washes spread out so nicely and leave a lovely shade to make the mouth and eyes look delightfully monstrous. Then using more oil washes, I'll add some grime to the claws and fingernails, and then yellow the teeth to make them look aged and unclean. The eyes took a couple tries to get right, but eventually I settled on a deep brown with a green speck in the corners to add a mischievous twinkle. My homemade Labubu is going to be a mysterious forest gremlin, so I'm sticking with a mossy color palette, using iridescent green paint for a few choice locations, and adding in some fun sparkly gloss varnish to the eyes and mouth just for fun. The fur gets painted in a few shades of mottled matte greens, wet blended together until it looks like a tie-dye patchwork of fluff. That's one thing I liked about the big into energy Labubus. Each one's coloration is unique and special. Some heavy dry brushing can bring out the texture in the fur by highlighting all of the raised lumps and tufts we carved in earlier. And then to add in some increased dimension, I'll coat the entire body with a deep green oil wash. But as this dried, I couldn't help but feel like my forest Labubu wasn't earthy enough. My solution for this was to add a few shades of browns to the fur to deepen the recesses even further, and add some new colors and foresty vibes. I think this helped tie in my theme and make the Labubu more interesting and unique. And while that dries, we're on to the base. After all, a foresty Labubu needs a forest to stand in. So we're starting off by slicing up some foam and gluing it onto a wooden platform, carving the shapes into a gentle slope. Once the texture is more how I want it to be, I'll add some crunchy chocolate gelato to fill in the gaps between the foam and build up a nice earthy texture. Then once that is dry, I'll come in and coat the whole base in white Mod Podge to prime the foam and protect the paint. A few rocks and branches build up my forest floor, and then we're on to the painting. A friend gave me a tub of olive green house paint, which I've been just dying to use, so I decided that now is as good a time as any. The green sets a nice base layer to build off from, and then I can paint the rest in a few phases of brown washes. To pick up points of interest, I'll paint some of the larger stones with a stone gray, then make the twigs and branches a lighter brown to stand out from the dirt and mud. Then to tie it all together and make the texture pop, I'll give the entire base a healthy dry brushing in lighter brown. But each grassy hill needs one thing: grass. And nothing works better for that than a static grass applicator. I'm using 2 different shades of grass to get some nice variation in the colors. And then once we knock off the excess, it doesn't look half bad. Before the PVA glue dries, I'll brush off some of the grass that got on the edges, rocks, and branches, and then add some fallen leaves and a couple unique whimsical plants. Then finally I'll paint the edges black, and our Labubu is Labu done. Thank you so much for watching this Labomination. It was very silly but a lot of fun to make, and just in time for all of the hype to have died out. Let me know what you want me to make next time in the comments. Big thank you as always to my lovely patrons over on Patreon. Your support helps make it possible for me to make all these weird little sculptures. And I appreciate all of you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.